In this part 2 Patreon bonus video of Movie Curator Shelf Club, I will be completing the second part of the underrated movies and hidden gems shelf. Hey, it's me, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and welcome back to another Patreon bonus edition of Movie Curator Shelf Club. And today I will be completing the underrated movies and hidden gems shelf in the collection behind me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing off this. If you've not watched part 1 already, do check out part 1. It was another Patreon exclusive video. But this is part 2 of that. I'm going to complete that shelf today in this video, and I've got my selection of movies prepared right here. So let's get this shelf completed, ladies and gents. Let's get to the movies. The first movie I want to discuss is The Italian Job. Now, this is the Italian Job remake that came out in the early 2000s, starring Mark Wahlberg, Charlize Theron, and Edward Norton. Look, I think this movie is an underrated film. I think what really kind of like takes over this and gets more talked about is movies like Fast and Furious, which I think are great movies, but I think The Italian Job at the time came out around the same time as the Fast series came out, doesn't get spoken about as much, and I think this could have easily have been just as big of a franchise as the Fast and Furious series. I think it's a really underrated movie, a great heist movie, really fun, really good cast. You got Jason Statham in there as well, really, an early Jason Statham film, acting performance. Donald Sutherland's in there for a short period of this movie as well. It's just a fun movie. Edward Norton plays the villain of the piece. Really good villain performance. I really like this. I think it's a great movie. If you like heist movies, this is going to be right up your street. Well worth checking out, and I'm glad it's going onto the shelf of underrated movies and hidden gems. Next up, I'm going to discuss The Time Machine. That's right, The Time Machine. This is another remake, and I feel like this is kind of like a bit of both, really. An underrated movie and also a hidden gem. I gotta say, I've never watched the original Time Machine movie. I've never read the book. But I will say this movie, it stars Guy Pearce, Samantha Mumbet, and Jeremy Irons. Guy Pearce is like the lead character in this, who is the time traveler. And it's set probably maybe 1920s or something, and basically there's a tragic event in this guy's life, and then he's trying to change time. He built a time machine, and then he keeps on going back in time and going forward. I think he goes forward in time, sorry. But it's a really good story. Really good story. I think, visuals, it's great for a movie of probably early 2000s. I think this came out, what's that, 2002 now. So it's 20 years old, this movie. And for the time period, I think it's, 20 years old. It's got really great visuals. I like this movie. I think it's just, for me, it's just a great science fiction story. Well done movie, and I'm glad it's going on the shelf. Hidden gem / underrated movie for sure. The next movie to enter the shelf is Prometheus, another science fiction movie, but I feel like this one is kind of underrated and kind of maybe people really, it's a prequel basically to the Aliens franchise, Prometheus, telling the story of them engineers, and I really like this movie. I'll be honest with you, this is probably, I think I watched this before watching any of the Alien movies, and maybe that helped in a way, because maybe I wasn't thinking about how good the Aliens movies are. I really enjoy the first Aliens. The first two movies are great. I think, you get to the third one, the third's okay, and then it gets a bit silly after that. It just gets a bit weird. But this one feels like it's going back to what the first movie offered, and I like it. I think it's got a great cast, and it's a really good story, and I've seen the Alien Covenant. I like that as well. I've not really disliked any of these Alien spin-offs or prequels. I think they've all been pretty decent. I really like this one, Prometheus, and I think it is an underrated movie. I think it just really, people who this is not everyone, but I think maybe if you're a hardcore Aliens fan, maybe you just don't like this. It doesn't live up to what Alien and Aliens did for you. And I get it. I'm like that with Star Wars, but I think it's a decent movie, and it's going on my underrated movie shelf. Next up, joining the shelf is Tron Legacy, a Disney produced movie. This one, it's crazy to think Disney produced this, but it's such a cool movie, and it really is again an underrated movie, also a bit of like a hidden gem. I feel maybe more leaning towards underrated. First of all, it's a sequel to the original Tron movie. I'll be honest, I didn't like the original Tron movie. It didn't appeal to me. This did, though. It's a great science fiction story. Basically, this character going in search for his dad, who is played by Jeff Bridges, Jeff Bridges in the original movie, and it's his son trying to find him. And basically, Tron is set within like this computer world, so you get sucked into the world of circuitry, into the world of computers. And it's a great, I think if you like video games, you'll like this movie. First of all, the soundtrack is amazing. Daft Punk, the band, the duo Daft Punk do the score for this movie, and it is one of the best scores of all time. One of my favorite movie scores. It is phenomenal. I think you would have heard some of the songs off like adverts and radio and stuff. It's well worth checking out the score. But the story is great. I think it's a really good science fiction movie. I think, some of the CGI of Jeff Bridges in his younger days is a bit ropey for the time. It could have been done a bit better. I think nowadays it would be done better. But apart from that, I like the story. I like the music. I think the visuals are stunning, absolutely stunning. And I think, overall, I just really like this. I think it is just an underrated hidden gem movie, and I really like Tron Legacy. The next movie I want to discuss is The Lion King 3 Hakuna Matata. Now, I think this is like a direct-to-DVD, direct-to-VHS release, this one. Now, basically, the first two Lion King movies are, very much sequels to each other. This one is basically an in-between movie. I think in some areas it's called like Lion King 2.5 or something like that. It's got a different titling. But the story of this, basically, it's like a commentary of the first movie. You got Timon and Pumbaa, and they're breaking the fourth wall, and they're talking to us, the audience, and talking about bits in between the story, and sort of telling the origin story of them, Timon and Pumbaa in the Lion King story, and meeting Simba. But then they're telling you like bits about like little side stories in between the first movie. And I will say it's just a story that is breaking the fourth wall, not taking itself too seriously. It's in on the jokes, this movie. It's a really interesting movie, and it's really nothing like The Lion King, but it's so good. I remember watching this the first time. It's in the collection for years, but I really liked it. I thought it was really, really well done. It's like a story within a story, basically. It's really good, well worth checking out. Hakuna Matata, definitely a hidden gem for me. Really is a hidden gem of a film. I think you think Lion King, you think really the first Lion King movie. Even the second one gets sort of like thrown to one side. Now, I know this is part of the collection as well, but for me, like I said, the first Lion King is the best one. The sequel is pretty good, Simba's Pride, but this one is going to leave the Disney collection and join the hidden gem and underrated movie shelf, because I think it's deserving of having a place in that shelf. Next up, I want to discuss Hunted, or The Hunted, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro. And this is a movie, basically, Tommy Lee Jones' character is like this trainer of the US Special Forces, and Benicio del Toro's character was trained by him years before, and basically his character goes rogue on a mission, and then he's just basically lost his mind. He's going rogue and trying to, doing bad acts, basically, and they're trying to find him, and it's a case of trying to find Del Toro's character before he does anything really bad. And Tommy Lee Jones' character comes out of like retirement to try and hunt him down. It's basically him trying to hunt him down. You see him like tracking him in the city and stuff, and it's a really, really good story. I think this is, for me, very much like an underrated movie. Look at it here, $17.99 Impulse. I don't know, is that a shop? Was that a shop at the time? I don't know, this was probably like off a car boot sale, most likely from when I purchased it. But it's a really good story, a good action thriller movie, as you say here. An action thriller, definitely is a thriller. I think it is really an underrated movie, this one. And it's a really well worth checking out. I think if you like, I think Tommy Lee Jones is a great, I've really grown to really appreciate him. I always think growing up, Tommy Lee Jones was always just like Men in Black. That's always what I always remembered him from. But then I've watched him like stuff like Under Siege and like movies like this, The Hunted. He's a really good actor, and this is a great movie. Del Toro's great as well. Really good thriller, and it's kind of like, think of it like Rambo goes on the run, and his trainer is trying to find him. That's it. That's basically what this story is. Rambo goes bad, he goes on the run, and his trainer has got to find him. Really good story, well worth checking out. Now entering the shelf of hidden gem and underrated movies is Nuns on the Run, a comedy movie, British movie starring Robbie Coltrane and what's his face? I always forget his name. Eric Idle of Monty Python fame. Basically, this story is two bank robbers. They go on the run from these like big criminals who are after them, and basically they dress up as nuns and go in a nunnery, and that's the premise of the story. It's really funny, and obviously there's a big reveal at the end. It's kind of like, think of it like Mrs. Doubtfire meets criminals and nuns. That's what it is, this movie. It's a really fun movie. Robbie Coltrane, I really like him in Cracker, and Eric Idle. I've been honest, I've never really watched much Monty Python. It's not really my cup of tea. I've seen some of the movies. Some of the movies are okay, like Life of Brian, but it's not really something I would go to and say, yeah, that's my jam. But this is my jam. I think it's a really funny movie, some really good comedy in it, and it is a hidden gem. Definitely a hidden gem for me. I never hear this movie discussed, and it should be discussed more so. It's a great movie. Let me know if you've watched Nuns on the Run. But it goes onto the shelf, and I'm pretty pleased with that. So the next movie to enter the shelf is a more recent purchase, and it is the movie Paulie, a family movie. Basically, Paulie is a talking parrot, and basically he loses contact with his owner, this little girl, at the start of the movie, and then it's a journey of him finding his owner again, trying to find his owner again, I should say. It's a really, like, this is, I think, like 90s it is. I remember watching this as a kid a lot, and when I seen it at like a charity shop recently, I was like, oh wow, that's a movie I forgot about. And I think it's just like not underrated, but just like a hidden gem of a family movie, this. And it's kind of like it feels like a movie forgotten with time. I think maybe during the 90s it would have been a movie you would have seen in like the video shops a lot, and probably that's where I seen it originally, like in a video shop, and then I got a copy on VHS. But I feel like it is a movie that's just been forgotten over time, and it's nothing like an amazing grand story. It's an easy story, an easy watch. It's funny. It's a family-friendly, entertaining movie. Paulie, I'm glad it's going into the collection as a hidden gem, because it's well worth checking out this movie. If you've not checked out Paulie and you like family entertaining movies, you want a good little laugh, check out Paulie. It's a fun movie. So I end this shelf today with the last movie, and the last movie is a Disney-produced movie, Oz the Great and Powerful, the prequel to The Wizard of Oz. And for me, this is very underrated. I think it's underrated because it was a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, and I think anything, either a sequel or a prequel to such a spectacular and beloved movie, is kind of always going to be overshadowed. And I think this is a movie that has been overshadowed, really, because it's a really well put together movie, and it's a really good prequel to The Wizard of Oz. I think you can watch this, and it's not so much a musical, rather it's more just like more of like a film adaptation. Whereas like Wizard of Oz is a musical movie. But I think it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. I think James Franco is good as the role of the wizard, no matter what you think about him as a person outside movies. Talking about the character and his performance in this, he is really good. I like his character, and all the other characters in this are really good as well. You got Rachel Weisz in there. You've got, who else have we got? We've got Miley Kunis and Michelle Williams. I'm not too sure who she is. I think she's the blonde lady here. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and I think if you like The Wizard of Oz, just to see the prequel to this movie that is so beloved, I think it's really nice to see how the wizard became the Wizard of Oz. It's great. I really like it. I think it's a really good movie. I think Sam Raimi directed this as well, if I'm right. Let's have a look at sorry, my mic's going over there. Let's see, director of the movie, Sam Raimi. Directed by Sam Raimi of Evil Dead, Spider-Man. You can't go wrong with that. It's really well worth checking out. But this is the last movie to enter the shelf, and I'm pretty pleased that this is the final one. I think it's a really good one to end this shelf off with. So the shelf is complete, the underrated movies and hidden gems shelf. I'll be honest with you, I'm really pleased with the final outcome of this shelf. It was something, it took a while to pick out these movies and really, think about it and really, like I said, it is subjective. It's what you define as a hidden gem or underrated movie. But look, at the end of the day, it's your movie shelf, and if you do this as well, you create your collection, you put your collections together. It's always personal, whether you want it to be alphabetical order or whatever order you want it to be. I think it's just cool to just go in there and look at these, and for me, it's a passion. It's a hobby. It's something I really enjoy doing. Curating this collection and putting I love opening the shelves then, and you're seeing like for instance the cinema classics shelf, and now I'm seeing the hidden gems and underrated movies shelf. It's really fun to see as a movie fan, and I'm glad it's all put together. But I think, looking at a shelf, Paulie is a really fun one for me. Also, the Great and Powerful again. Prometheus is a really good one. I'm really happy with how this shelf has ended up, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing the completion of this in this part 2 video. So that is the shelves completed, and that is this sort of part 1, part 2 video completed as well of Movie Curator Shelf Club. Thank you very much, as always, for you as patrons. Thank you very much for supporting myself, for supporting the channel, the podcast. Without your support, this place doesn't grow any further, so I do appreciate all your support. Thank you very much. It is always appreciated. Remember, ladies and gents, I've got three words for you. And I forgot this in the first one. I got 3 words for you, ladies and gents. Control your collection. I'll see you next time on Movie Curator Shelf Club.